The Cincinnati Zoo is America's second oldest zoo, and notably was the first ever zoo to successfully breed Californian sea lions. That's not why you clicked on this video though. You clicked on this video to know what they are truly most notable for, or actually, who they are most notable for. Because the truth of the matter is, what happened at the zoo 10 years ago with a certain gorilla of theirs named Harambe was something that shook the entire world and made us question what humanity's role is as it comes to caring for other animals. What happened at the zoo 10 years ago wasn't a freak accident. It was not the defiance and arrogance of a 3-year-old in the face of a western lowland gorilla, and it certainly is not an event to be forgotten to time. Ladies and gentlemen, my mission today is to brush you up on the most infamous event that this series has ever described, and without a doubt the craziest meme from 2016. Folks, we're gonna take a look at what led up to the climax of this meme, as well as the legacy that it's left behind. We're also gonna ponder what makes Harambe Harambe, and the answer may be the key to understanding as for why I cry myself to sleep every night thinking of him. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is SnugBroTV, and welcome back to Forgotten Memes. This time, it's a meme that's been requested, and it's one in which I have dedicated my entire life to deciphering. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Harambe episode. SnugBroTV. I eat sand whenever I am angry. I feel like the majority of Americans know Harambe. They may not know the lore, but they do know about his death. But in order to understand what led to Harambe's death, we have to understand the seeds in which were sown in Harambe's past. Harambe was a western lowland gorilla born on May 27th, 1999 at Glady's Porter Zoo in Brownsville, Texas. His name was chosen by a man named Dan Van Capinol, a local counselor who won a zoo-sponsored naming competition. The inspiration came from the 1988 song Harambe, Working Together for Freedom by Rita Marley. The word Harambe comes from Swahili and refers to people working together as a community. Now, there's a lot of irony surrounding his name given his death, but we'll get into that in a second. Now, there's two things we must consider from Harambe's past that made him immensely the gorilla that he was at the time of his execution. The first thing is that he was born in Brownsville, Texas. The second thing was on January 6th of 2002, when chlorine gas had accidentally been released into the then 2-year-old Harambe's enclosure, killing his mother named Kayla, his 11th-month-old brother named Makoko, and his 2-year-old half-sister named Azuri. Why this is important is because at 2 years old, gorillas are still highly dependent on their mothers for nutrition, warmth, and protection, with separation triggering immediate psychological distress and, depending on the circumstances, can lead to severe long-term developmental challenges. The people who had the pleasure of playing and nurturing the friendly Harambe picked up on these said challenges, and on September 18th of 2014, Harambe was transferred to the Cincinnati Zoo to learn socialization.
Well, I saddled up my shoe.
Now, you may have already been told this story a trillion times in like a history class or like every single night on the news, but the Cincinnati Zoo is the chapter of Harambe's life in which he faces death and ultimately inspires a movement. On May 28th of 2016, one day after the 17th birthday of Harambe, a 3-year-old child thought it would be a great idea to climb a 3-foot fence, crawl through 4 feet of bushes, and then fall 15 feet into a shallow moat of water in order to play with Harambe. I guess the mom was like doom scrolling or something when this happened, but nonetheless, amidst the screams and cries of onlookers, the child would catch the attention of Harambe. Now, I don't know if I can play this video on YouTube. Now, note, nothing inherently violent happens. The child luckily escaped with 0 life-threatening injuries, but in the video, Harambe essentially pushes and shoves the kid and then decides to carry him up a ladder onto the dry land. It was then in which Harambe, in case he had decided to, roughhouse a little too hard, gets domed to the head by a zoo official with a rifle, ultimately killing the gorilla. The video that I mentioned, filmed by a bystander, would go viral on YouTube immediately, with a lot of the outrage aimed towards the parents and for the zoo officials for the death of Harambe. Many attributed a potential neglect of the child to lead to the decision to kill Harambe, as well as expressing the opinion that killing the gorilla, which note is labeled to be a critically endangered species, was generally an unnecessary decision. What ultimately transpired though was a tribute to the late Harambe, with several ceremonies taking place across the country to celebrate the life of play and fun that Harambe exhibited. A Change.org petition entitled Justice for Harambe was created, gaining over 338,000 signatures within 48 hours. The hashtag Justice for Harambe would also trend on Twitter. Celebrities would also either fake outrage or express concern for the death of Harambe, with then presidential candidate Donald Trump expressing that while the zoo, quote, probably had no choice, he attributed the situation to that being, quote, like a mother holding a baby.
Looks so beautiful and calm.
Twitter would be the home to Harambe tributes. You had memes like this, or ones attributing the death of Harambe to that of Muhammad Ali and Prince, who had also passed away that year. Mark Hoppus, the singer of Blink-182, would post lyrics to a self-written song about Harambe on Twitter. This was inspired by the trend of changing popular song lyrics to include Harambe's name. Yeah, Twitter used to be fun. Now all I get is doom posting about life. It's like everyone who grew up using Twitter decided to become angry and annoying. But the hashtag and movement to rule them all would be the hashtag Dicks Out for Harambe movement. This was all started by this guy, at Sexual Jumanji, stating that, quote, we coming with our dicks out to avenge Harambe. Yeah, way ahead of you, man. It's why I'm no longer allowed to visit my local GameStop. Besides that, Google would be trolled in July of that year and changing the street name of a high school to Harambe Drive. On top of that, the Cincinnati Zoo director's Twitter would be hacked and would be dedicated to Harambe gooning. UMass Amherst would rule that Dicks Out for Harambe was a violation of Title IX regulations, and 11,000 people would vote for Harambe in the 2016 presidential election. And this is where we ask ourselves, what makes Harambe Harambe? You know, it's funny how easy it is to rally up a bunch of different people on the internet. And it's funny because the internet is the home of people constantly being at each other's throats. It's also the home of dividing people, spreading bullshit, and while the internet zeitgeist can morph one's perception of the real world negatively, it also has the ability to unite millions of different people in participating and making memes. Do people actually mourn the death of Harambe? While some actual cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs people did, no. But given how much of a fever dream 2016 was, and given the totalitarian state of political correctness in that year, Harambe was an outlet for people to have fun. And that's what Harambe is. He's fun. He's a fun guy who's just looking to make a new friend. And while he may have lost his life in doing so, he gained an entire community still going strong 10 years later.